This here is what I pack for solo overnight backpacking trips. I haven't done a video like this in a while, and so I wanted to just show you what my setup is and how I pack my pack, because everyone packs a little bit differently and their ideas around it can be different. But I just want to share with you my thought process when it comes to doing a overnighter or an extended weekend. Now this pack right here, this is 21 pounds including food for one overnight. You take the food out, this is a 19-pound setup base weight, so it's very lightweight. And I have some luxuries in here too that a lot of ultralight people wouldn't bring with them. But for me, if I'm under 20 pounds, that's a great amount of weight to be carrying because I can still be out here comfortably and having fun. So let's walk through what's in this pack. So this pack itself is the Carbon Evo 50 from Outdoor Vitals. It's a 50-liter pack. It's not my go-to. Playing around with this pack lately because my go-to is the CS40, which is a 40-liter pack. It's a smaller version of this, and it's a little bit lighter, but this pack itself is only 30 ounces, so it's under 2 pounds, and it has lots of room for anything I need. So we'll start from the outside of the pack and work our way in. So to start off, the hip belts. On the one side, I have my electrolytes because I burn through a lot of salt. You can probably see on this shirt, there's salt all over it. So I use a lot of electrolytes and I do use salt pills. I also have in here a couple little snacks if I want to grab those while on the move. And then I have a knife and a lighter on this side. On the other side, I have my wallet, and I have a chafing stick, and I have my car keys. So not too much in those pockets, but it carries everything that I need to quickly access while I'm on the trail. I also like to utilize a shoulder pocket for water instead of a bladder. I just think it's a lot simpler, a lot easier to use for me, and very easy to continue to refill. So I have my 500 milliliter bottle, silicone bottle right here. And then also on the outside of my pack is where I keep my filter. So I usually keep that in one of these packs, and I use a Katadyn Be-Free filter. They work really well, and I can fill up my waters very quickly. If I'm in an area that doesn't have a whole lot of water, then I'll make sure both of these are filled up. Otherwise, usually I have this full and this will be empty. The other outside pocket usually doesn't see a whole lot of use because I like to try and keep as much inside as possible. But if I'm carrying my trekking poles instead of using them, then I will put them in there. If I'm carrying a tripod like I'm using right now, then I will have that in there as well. But overall, usually one side stays pretty empty. Now, trekking poles wise, I don't know if I should include these in the base weight or not, but I do always have trekking poles with me. Sometimes I carry them on my pack, sometimes they're in my hand. These are the Black Diamond Alpine Carbon Corks. I got these 12 years ago, and I use them all the time. They still work. They're decently lightweight. They were really lightweight at the time, and I have no problems with them. So not everything in this setup is going to be new or newer. I have lots of stuff that we've had forever, and if it works, there's not a whole lot of reason for me to change it unless something breaks. So right now, these have been kicking some booty. Continuing along on the outside, I do have my luxuries, such as camp shoes. These are very comfortable camp shoes. I like to change out of my hiking shoes, especially if I'm in really wet hiking shoes when I get to camp and I just want to relax and enjoy it and let my feet breathe a little bit. So I do have my camp shoes, and attached to that I have a little thermometer because I also like to see the temperature. Anytime it's above like 55 degrees, it is too hot for me because I am from the Alpine. I'm Scandinavian blood. I love the cold. I do not like the heat, but I tolerate the heat as much as I can possibly tolerate it because that's when the good time of year to backpack is. So right now, 64 degrees, a little warm for my taste, but here we are. Also on the outside, if I gotta go to the bathroom, then I have my pack with some wipes and a little shovel. So it's always on the ready, so I don't have to dig for anything if I really gotta go. And then I also have my InReach Mini, what is it? Mini 3 Plus. Just got this year. I had the big old Explorer Plus forever, and finally went and got the Mini 3 this year, and I have to say this thing, the connection is way better compared to the Explorer Plus. I can get messages out very easily, whereas I was always chasing the satellite before, so this was a very good upgrade to have. I keep it back here because it's a little bit more protected, and if something really bad happens, I can initiate SOS from my watch. So I don't have to have it on the front or easily accessible to initiate that SOS, because I can push a button on my watch and boom, there it goes. If you don't have that capability, then I recommend having it closer to your hands to be able to activate it if you need to, or if you're incapacitated in some way. But this is where mine lives. In the outside pocket here, I have my tent, which is the X-Mid Pro 2 from Durson. This is a pretty good tent. I wouldn't say it's a fantastic tent. I do have a love-hate relationship with it, mostly because you tend to have a really perfect platform to get a really good pitch. Otherwise, the pitch is wonky. And if there's slightly one side is elevated more than the other, then your ridge line's either going to get messed up, and if any weather is coming in, then you have to either guy everything out, so you're using more than 4 stakes, like what is kind of advertised for this being a 4-stake only tent, to have it pitched right, or the inside of the tent won't have like the walls for the bathtub set up correctly, and you will potentially get water in there. I do have videos on that. I love how roomy it is. It's got a big footprint, which for us, we've been using big footprint tents for a long time, and that doesn't bother us, but sometimes the pitch on this can be a little funky compared to other tents I've used. So like I said, it's a love-hate relationship with it. When I do get a really good pitch, I love it. So there are those moments where I'm super stoked that I freaking nailed it, and I'm very happy with it. I am searching for like a freestanding tent, like a 1 or a 1+ person freestanding tent. Durson has one coming out here pretty soon that I will also be looking at, because sometimes I just want a freestanding tent instead of a trekking pole tent. And a lot of that is like being on the coast where you're on the beach, and the sand would just be better to be in a freestanding tent. So there is that. The other thing with this tent is the bottom is so freaking thin, and Durson says, oh, it's fine. People would rather have the lightweight than a durable bottom. And no, I want a durable bottom, and I don't care if it's a few ounces more, because I have to carry a footprint. Never had to do that with any other Dyneema tent, but I have had more holes in the bottom of this tent than I've had in any tent in my life. So luckily Dyneema is very easy to fix, but I literally have had pine needles punch holes through the bottom of the tent. That's how thin it is. So for the first time ever, I have to use a footprint on a tent. Another part of the love-hate relationship with the Durson. I can't wait to see all the Durson people jump on and try to defend it, but I've been doing this for a long time. Still really like the tent overall. It's a fantastic tent, but it's not perfect. It is not perfect. Don't act like it is. See Exhibit A. One side is slightly higher than the other, and that makes the ridgeline not perfect. Now you can guy out the tops and fix that, but it's just extra steps. So no weather coming in, this will be fine. Then I also have a bunch of stakes. Now I could probably save a lot of weight by cutting down my stake pack here, but going back to the Durson, sometimes I don't know if I need 4 stakes or if I need 8. So I'd rather have everything that I need and all the guy lines and everything right here, so that if I'm in a spot that needs a different type of pitch, then I have everything I need right then and there. That's everything on the outside. And then for the most part, everything on the outside is stuff that I want readily available or ready to access without having to dive into the pack. And so that is why I keep my tent out and all that stuff, because I can get to a campsite and just boom, pull out my tent, get the tent set up, and then start opening stuff up inside the tent and get things opened and unwound in there. So let's open this thing up and see what we got. How I pack my bag is all dependent on how many days that I am going to be out. So if it's just a 1 or 2 nighter, then I will put my food right at the top and because it's really not too heavy and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. If it's going to be a longer trip, like 7 days on the Wonderland trail, for example, then what I will do is I will keep this right above my sleeping bag way down here, and I have every single day separated out into its own bag like this, and I will have the day that it currently is sitting at the top. So I've got my snacks and all that stuff right there. But other than that, I like having a bear bag. We do have bears in the area. I usually hang my bag somewhere, and I'd rather have something a little bit more durable that can withstand bears. If I just have a regular bag, the bears are gonna tear into it, and then now we got problems with bears. So this at least kind of protects the food a little bit. So for me, it's worth having the little extra weight to have an sack. And then another immediate access thing at the top. This is my camera / electronics bag. I've got battery pack in here. I've got my headlamp. I've got gloves if I need to. I got bags if I need to cover up my camera if the rain's coming in. I also have my first aid kit in here as well, and it's a very basic first aid kit. And yeah, so that is my camera / electronics bag, all right in there. So that's up towards the top as well. Right below that, I have my clothing bag. So typically my clothing setup is I have my hiking clothes, and then I have my camp clothes. Pretty much every weekend trip, multi-day, 5 days was kind of pushing it last year on the Wonderland before I swapped clothes. Yeah, that setup, having 2 sets of clothes, one for walking and hiking in and one for camp, works really well for me. I also in here have a rain jacket as well, which is the Outdoor Vitals Tushar jacket, I think is how you say it. Very lightweight. It's just a shell. It's great for in the wind and stuff as well. So if it's lightly raining or anything like that, this is really nice to have. But I tell you what, I was just on the West Coast Trail and it was dumping rain, as it does there. And that was the first time that I decided to test out a poncho, and I loved it. I think the poncho was a fantastic choice. That leaves me to some questions. If I'm going to be in some dumping rain situations, do I just carry a poncho instead of a rain jacket? And a lot of times if it's lightly raining, I don't take the time to throw on a rain jacket because you're either going to sweat inside of the rain jacket or you're going to get wet. And so a lot of times I just choose to get wet because you're getting wet no matter what. One way you stink, one way you don't. So is it even worth having a rain jacket? I don't know. Things I've been contemplating. But there's some sweet ponchos out there. The one that I used was like a $20 one on Amazon, and there are some like backpacker specific ones that have like a front zip and stuff so that it's easier to get around your big backpack. So I'm definitely liking the poncho idea, and I didn't sweat it out like I do everything else. So I think that might be my next thing, is getting a nice poncho. And next up, I have been testing the Zulu jacket from Outdoor Vitals. I know I have a lot of Outdoor Vitals stuff. I found them a few years ago when I was interested in an Ultra Weave backpack, which was the CS40. And then since then, I purchased a bunch of their stuff and I've been testing it out. And price to durability and usage and weight ratio, I feel like they have pretty good stuff. So I have quite a bit of their stuff and I've been putting it through the ringer. It's been holding up fine. The only thing that I recently tore was the quilt that I have from them, and it somehow tore in the washer. I'm really not sure how, and it tore right at the collar, but that was an easy fix. A little tape fixed it right up. But this is a Zulu jacket, which is kind of their summer lightweight down jacket. I run very warm, as I said, with the whole temperature thing. So I do have the Nova Pro jacket that I got years ago as well. And it's very much overkill in the summertime. So this is a lighter weight jacket for like days like today, where it's getting kind of cool at night, but not too bad. And so this doesn't make you overheat and it makes you very comfortable. So that has been a nice little addition this year to my pack. And then my trusty wind burner stove from MSR. We got this at a REI garage sale back in 2015 for 30 bucks. It said that it was broken. One of the employees said that they believe that it was just a fuel jet that was clogged. And so we went and we cleared the clog. It's been working ever since. So I know it's heavy, but it works. It always boils water and boils it very quickly. Very reliable, and we've had it for 11 years now. Love this thing. Then underneath that is a lacrosse ball. Sometimes we have a cork ball, just depends on how much weight we want to bring or if our packs are getting a little heavy. But I use this at night for some recovery stuff after big long days. A lot of times I'll roll my feet on it. I'll use it in like my hamstrings or my IT bands or my quads, stuff like that. Sometimes if I get knotted in between my shoulder blades, I'll lay down and have that there and lay on it and try to free stuff up. Very helpful. The older I get, the more little things like this become a big deal. And I do have a whole video on different ways I use the massage ball while hiking, and I will link that up in one of the card spots up here. If the bugs are really bad, then I do use the thermocell. I didn't know what conditions would be like this time, so I brought it with me, but currently there's like no bugs, so probably didn't need to do that. Could have saved like 6 ounces. Right below that is another luxury. A chair. This is a Nemo something or other, but it's very lightweight. If I don't know if there's gonna be rock at a campsite, such as a spot like this where we're more in the woods, then I like to have a chair. If it's up more in the alpine where there's tons of rocks, then I'm not gonna bring a chair. So it just depends on the trip, whether I have this or not. And I think this is like £1. I will link or put down below which one this is. But again, this was like when REI was having one of their like 40% off sales. That's when we picked one of these up because it's not cheap, but it is very lightweight and very nice and comfortable. So it is nice to have. Underneath that is my Thermarest X Therm. I've had this since 2014. It's a R5 rating, I believe. And for me, I'd rather be insulated from the ground at all times instead of getting a sleeping pad that's like an R2 for 2 ounces less. I'd rather just not have the cold seep up at all. So that's why I just use this during the summertime or 3 seasons. And then in the wintertime, we have more winter setup with a double pad for both of us, and then we also have a double sleeping bag from Feathered Friends that we use as well. But for the summertime, I use the X-Therm, and it's a single, which is just fine. And right below that, last but not least, is my quilt. And I just stuff it in a stuff sack here. It is a Storm Loft quilt from Outdoor Vitals. This is the one that I was talking about that I just ripped recently right after the West Coast Trail, which I'm a little bummed about, but I was able to patch up. But that just fits right at the bottom of my pack, and then everything stacks right above it. So in compartment type backpacks like this, I go from the bottom up of things that I'm most likely not going to need up all the way to the stuff that I'm going to need at some point before camp. And that's how I set it up. And for the most part, that also keeps it so that the weight is down lower and closer to my back and my hips. And then it gets a little bit lighter as we go up the compartment as well. That setup has been working for me for years and years. It's very comfortable, and most of this stuff works great for me as well. You don't see us buying the latest and greatest things that often because we have a system that works. And this is my solo setup for right now. So until I find a dome tent that I really like, this is my setup. And then I guess there is one last thing. Because these backpacks aren't completely waterproof, I just have a plastic bag at the bottom, garbage bag that I can throw everything into and keep everything waterproof if the weather's coming in. But for the most part, the garbage bag works just fine. So that is my entire setup for an overnight or an extended weekend trip solo. Like I said, without food, it is 19 pounds. It's not that heavy. It feels very comfortable on the back, and it makes all this really enjoyable. And overall, like pricing wise, there are some things that are expensive like the X-Mid Pro. But other than that, most of the stuff is pretty reasonable and lasts a long time. So Finding that perfect balance between saving some weight and saving some money definitely helps. But if it's a big item, I definitely live by the buy once, cry once mentality. As long as you use it for a long time and get your money's worth out of it. That's kind of my motto with it and my mindset. So if you have any questions about my setup, let me know down in the comments. And if you want to follow along with a hiking workout series that I do that's 4 weeks long to get you ready for the hiking season, then check out this video right here.